Hi, welcome to this video where we will be talking about how to play Crokinole with 4 individuals or 4 different colored discs. Now I'm going to be using Tabletop Simulator here to, just to show you how it works. And yes, you can play Crokinole by using, if I hit F11, it brings up the menu, and by using Flick, there you go. You can play Crokinole. Hit F11 to get rid of the menu. And yeah, you could search this on Steam. It's called Tabletop Simulator. And if you go into the workshop, you will find Crokinole if you search for Crokinole. So how do you play with 4 different colors? Because usually Crokinole is played with 2. So there's two things you have to change. Number 1, let's go up here to the top. I've made some notes. First off, you're not going to minus points. So usually in Crokinole, and I'm assuming you know how to play Crokinole, you take, for example, if the game ended this way between purple and red, let's say it was like this color would cancel this color out, and red would win the round, or win the points of this round, with 10 points, because this is the 10-point ring. But I'm not going to talk about how to play Crokinole. This is how to play with 4 different colored discs. So the minusing thing you got to get rid of. Okay, so the second thing we need to do is there is no end score. So in regular Crokinole, if you reach 100 points, the game's over. And in tournament Crokinole, where you get 2 points for the win and 1 point each for a tie, the first person to, I think it's 8 or 11 points, I'm not sure, wins the game. So that is not what determines the end of the game. Instead, when you're playing with 4 discs, it is first turn. So if we come here, for example, red goes first, so that would be a turn. Then after red goes first and everyone shoots their pucks, then it would be purple, green, yellow. All right, that is what I call a period. So 4 turns equals 1 period. I like to play more than 1 period. In fact, I like to play 3 periods, like a hockey game. And then you tally up the score after each period to let these players know where you stand, how you're winning, and who you have to go after. And then at the end of all 3 periods, you tally up the scores and you win. And that's it. The game's over. So that's what determines how long the game is how many first turns you want each player to have. I do recommend more than 1. All right. So what about scoring? Now, scoring, you could use the scoring that is on the board. So for example, 10, 5, 0, and of course, let me see if I could do a little 20 in here that I could. So it's 5, 10, 20, and wherever the pucks land, like I said, those are the points you get. It doesn't really matter. There's no canceling. So let's try this. So if the game ended this way, that's it. That's how the game ended. Now you could tally up these points and enter them here. But the problem with this is you're going to get runaway games. So the better thing to do is to do the tournament system. So in Crokinole, tournament Crokinole, either in couples or in singles, you get 2 points for the win, 1 point for a tie. But the problem is when you're playing with 4 different colored discs, how do you do that? So what you do is, instead of 2 points that are up for grabs, we are going to be doing 20 points. Now, the problem is, how do you divide up that 20 points? Well, let me go back here. We are going to be using positioning, like the Olympics, first place, second place, third place, to determine who gets what points out of those 20 points. So if we come up here, the possibilities would be there'll be a first place, a second place, a third place, and a last place. Or there could be a first place finisher, multiple finishers, a second place and a last, or there could be a bunch of people tied for first, or a bunch of people tied for last, or everybody just finishes with the same amount of points. So the points on the board just determines the ranking in position. So in other words, everyone could end up in the ditch and that still constitutes as a tie for first because the points on the board are only there to determine the ranking. So in this case scenario, with everybody in the gutter with 0 points, everyone finishes first, okay? So that still begs the question though, how do you divvy up these 20 points? Well, for 4 players. By the way, for 3 players, it would be 12 points up for grabs, but we'll get to that at the end. So this is how you do it. First, second, third, last are all separated by a minimum of 2 points. You got to keep that in mind. It could be 5-point difference between second and third, or third and last. Doesn't matter, but it's a minimum of 2. So the only thing you have to remember is this. For first place, remember this, 8, 7, 6, 5. And for last place, 2, 3, 4. So you're counting down on first place, starting at 8 to 5. And in last place, you're counting up from 2 to 4. So what does that mean? If one color occupies first place, they will receive 8 points. If 2 colors occupy first place, they will receive 7 points each. So 7 for yellow, 7 for purple. If 3 teams occupy first place, they all tie for first, then they each receive 6. And you guessed it, if all 4 teams have this end up with the same amount of points during that turn, then they will all receive 5 points. Okay? Then you look at last place. Same thing, same idea. Let me go back here. If one team occupies last by themselves, they receive 2 points. Let me just draw an arrow to make it totally clear. If 2 teams are tied for last, they get 3 points each. And if 3 teams, which is the most you could have in last place, occupies that, each team gets 4 points each. And the beauty of this is, if you know you're coming in last, you want to drag as many guys down with you, because the more people that are with you in last place, the more points you get. So it sort of starts to introduce this kind of strategy. So let's go ahead here and do some examples of how this would all work when it comes to second and third, everything in between. So let's say, I don't know, green came in first, purple came in second, red came in third, and yellow came in last. So the first thing we do is we look at first and last place. So in this case, green finishes as holding first place by themselves. So we start at 8, remember? So it's 8, 7, 6, 5. So there's only one color, so we start at 8. So first gets 8 points. Then we go to last place. How many colors are occupying last? Remember, we're counting up from 2. So that's 2. There's only one color in last, so that's 2 points. So now we have 8 plus 2, which gives us 10. And there's 20 points up for grabs, so therefore there's 10 points remaining. Now remember, there are 2 points minimum that has to separate each position. So 8 take away 2 would be 6, and then 6 take away 2 would be 4. So we have 8, 6, 4, 2. So this first round, let's pretend this is what happened when red went first. So red, let me just see that. Red got 4 points because they came in third. Purple got 6 points because they came in second. Green came in first, so they scored 8. And then yellow came in last, so they get 2. So now let's say the next person to go first was, so that's the first turn. Remember, there are 4 turns per period. We're still in the first period. So purple now will go first. So let's say in the second game, purple ended up, I don't know, last. Let's say red and yellow came in second, and, or let's say, well, let's change it up. So now we study this scenario, and it looks like yellow came in first by themselves. And again, you start at 8. So yellow receives 8. Then we go to last place. There's only one person occupying, or one team occupying last. So we start at 2 and count up to 4. So 2, so that's it. And now 8 plus 2, once again, equals 10. Take away 20. We have 10 points left over, which has to be divided by 2 teams. And they're both tied for second, so 10 divided by 2 would equal 5. So in the second turn, it would be yellow with 8, and then purple with 2, and then the last two teams would split the remaining 10 points and get 5 points each. So now in this scenario, let's say we have 2 guys tied for first, 2 guys tied for last. All right. So red, again, we start at 8 and count down and for the first position. So it would be 8, 7. So both of these guys would get 7 points. And there are 2 people in last starting at 2. So it'd be 2, 3. So these guys both get 3 points each. So if we go to, let's just do the math so you can see. 7 plus 7 equals 14, which leaves 6 points for these guys. But we already both know, because of our rule of counting down and up, they both get 3 points each. So if we take away 20 from 14, that leaves 6 points. And of course, it works out. The math all works out. So in this case scenario, red and green would have scored 7 points each, and purple and yellow would have scored 3 points each. And then for our final turn, oh, sorry, that was green's turn, who went first for this round. And now for our final round of, or final turn, I should say, for period 1. Let's say, I don't know, let's say this time purple finishes first, and these guys all finished last. Purple had the hammer, and they knocked everybody out. There's only one color occupying first, so purple would get 8. And we start at 2, so 2, 3, 4. So these guys would all score 4 points. So we come back here, and it looks like purple would score the 8, and the rest scored 4, right? 4 times 3 is 12, with 8 remaining, which goes to first place. So the math works out. So that's it. So we'd tally up these scores, and then we'd start period 2. Do the same thing. It would be red's turn, blah, blah, blah. Now, how many periods, like I said, you want to play, it's up to you. But just remember that everybody has to have a turn going first, which means everyone has a turn playing the hammer, which is the most important position in crokinole and curling. So that's how it all works with 4 people. But what if, let's say you're doing a tournament, and let's say, I don't know, let's say these top 3 guys tied for 3. And you're like, oh man, we got to have a 3-person tournament. It's the exact same thing, but 2 things are going to change. Let me write it over here. So instead of 20 points per round up for grabs, you're going to do 12 points. And for first place, second place, and last place, first place, instead of starting at 8, you start at 6. And you count down 6, 5, and 4. And for last place, same thing. You start at 2, and you go to 3. So the way it would work, it would be, let's say, I don't know, red came in first, purple came in second, and green came in last. So red would get 6 points because they're holding first by themselves. Then we go to last place, which is 2. So 6 plus 2 is 8. There's only 4 points left over to get to 12. So therefore, purple would have gotten 4 points. And again, I think it's pretty clear at this point. So let's say the game ended like this. So purple and red would have scored 5 points each, which is 5 plus 5 equals 10, which of course leaves 2 points left over for green. And if everybody tied, everyone gets 4 points. 3 times 4 would equal 12. So that is pretty much it. That is how you play crokinole with multiple teams. Like I said, you could just use, instead of doing this whole point system, you could just use the points that are on the board. So for example, I don't know, yellow would have 20 and everyone else would get 0. The problem with that is, for example, let's say this was yellow and everyone else got 0. The problem with that is, yes, yellow would have scored 20 points and everyone else would get 0. And even if yellow scored 10 points the next round and he got 5, and then it's a 0-0 again, you can see how quickly this game can get out of hand just by the third round. Let's say he scored 35 here, 10 here, 5 here, 0 here again. It's pretty much done for this player. Whereas if you use the 20-point, division system as we did here, it keeps everybody in contention all the time. And from our testing, that works out really well. So there you go. I hope this was concise and you understood this video. And yeah, go ahead. And by the way, Tabletop Simulator, I'm pretty much going to be using this program going forward. It is awesome. And it is multiplayer. So that's it for this video. Thanks for watching, and I'll see you in the next video.